Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Only One United. A new face as the host. So, hello, guys. I'm Atanu. If somebody does not know, we have Namrata and Andy Slater with us today. Andy, how are you?
I'm good, but I'm sure that everybody knows who Atanu is by now. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know you.
Thanks a lot, Andy, for that. Namrata, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Been a while being at a podcast together. I'm so glad another person is at this late hour along with me on the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. The feelings are mutual. It's 11:30 now. Another 30 minutes to change the date. But yeah, today we'll be talking about Manchester United and the transfer season. Be it the men's team, be it the women's team, it's always a tragic moment for the United fans. All the news coming in for the men's team and no news coming in for the women's team. So that's that. But when we compare, coming to women's team and the WSL, when we compare the season, the like after the season, whatever has happened, the outgoings or the incomings, or just the rumors, when we compare United with other teams, there has been a huge difference. When we look at Arsenal, they already announced their departures. Be it Lisa Evans, Tobin Heath, obviously terminated her contract mutually, and then we look at the contract renewals that they have went through. I think Miedema has signed a contract renewal. Caitlin Food has signed a contract renewal, and there would be many other players. When we look at Chelsea, they announced their departures quite early. Uh, and then we look at Manchester City, who are already making signings. Of course, some of the signings haven't been made official yet, but as it stands, they have already made three signings. But when we look at United, there has been next to no news from credible sources. There has been zero announcements of the outgoings. I remember I had a talk with Namrata regarding this a few weeks back, and she said that it takes time for the outgoings to be announced. But I think it has been around 1 month now. So I think with the Euros also coming in, it's time to get it over with. I know the club might have already made their decision, but for us fans, no knowledge is very harmful because it is the root cause of the frustration, the negativity, or whatever you might call it, whatever's been happening with the fan base. So Namrata, please say something about that.
Yeah, I think I know like Andy's gonna talk about like he's gonna calm everyone down and make everyone relax. So I'm gonna start off with, creating some panic in the first place. Uh, so just before the pod, actually, I was going through the Twitter accounts of WSL clubs and just checking, have they announced any signings, any contract extensions, any departures or whatever. And I think every single club has announced at least one. The only club which hasn't done that is Man United. And so basically, we're the only club in WSL. Uh, we don't really have any news since the season ended. And you talk about you've already covered Arsenal, City, and Chelsea, and Spurs as well. They have announced, I think, three players who are outgoing, and uh, in the last few months, they've also announced three players who have had their contract extended. And considering they were our biggest threat to the fourth position, uh, I think in their capacity, they're doing well. And if we talk about the top three, right, for me, it doesn't really I mean, I don't kind of take City as a reference because they have a lot of money to spend, right? Uh, Arsenal as well, they had a very good season last year. Uh, they were still in contention for winning the league till last day of the season. So, and they retained medium up, which for me, I think was the uh, biggest issue that they had to resolve. So they have already done that. Uh, for me, actually, the biggest you know point of contention really is Chelsea because like 2 3 months back they didn't even have an owner, right? Uh, they didn't know who the new owners are going to be. They didn't know if they would even be allowed to have new extensions, if they would be allowed to sign players. What's the situation like? If the new owners are going to come in, if they're going to invest in the women's team or not. And you know, for me, I just feel like for a team and a club which is in such a huge state of flux, for them to already be, having that clarity of which are the players they want in the team going into next season. And we've heard rumors about a couple of those, some really good players that they're signing. And with new owners coming in, I think they will want to invest a lot to get fans on their side. And Chelsea this season kind of takes me back to where we were last season. So we were in a similar position, but I think we were in a lesser of situation because we still had the club and the owners. And uh, Casey resigned. There was a lot of a series of articles. Players were not happy. They'd gone to PFA and so on. So we didn't know what was happening during the summer. And for me, last season was an anomaly. It wasn't something that's going to happen every season. But I think we had 1 year to make sure that, we course correct and we kind of go into the new season where we do all of our business early and make sure that after the Euros, when we start preseason, Mark has the team or a majority of the team is available for us to prepare for new season. And right now, the kind of way things are going, I'm not very confident about uh, if we'll have all the players available or not. I mean, even last season, right? The fact that Casey did her homework and she got in most of the signings, and most of the outgoings were already decided. If she wasn't there, I'm not sure the club would have been able to make all those signings in the short amount of time they had after Mark joined the club. So for me, it just kind of takes us back to where we were last season. And I really hope that they have something lined up that we don't really know about, because for me, and we can probably cover that later in the pod, but waiting for after the Euros is one of the most dangerous things right now.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Like, uh, when we compare it to the other seasons as well, I think at the like in hindsight, I do think that with the Euros coming in, it is the right time to announce it a bit early, so that we can work on the other deals. And then there is the delay in the appointment of the head of women's football, which we'll obviously talk about. So that's something that United have to do. Like, this should have been the priority. I know it isn't easy to appoint it in a month or two, but still they've had over 5 or 6 months now. But coming to Andy now, Andy, you've heard what Namrata had to say. So what would you like to say regarding that?
Well, you say they've had 5 or 6 months to appoint that head of women's football or whatever the role will be, but most of that time has been under Ed Woodward, and I don't think you can judge anything that United are doing based on the performance under Woodward. The early signs of Arnold seem positive. Of course, with a new manager coming into the men's side, that's going to be on all the front pages as well as the back pages. It's not, you know, regardless of what United are doing, if United had appointed a head of women's football tomorrow, we'd still hear 10 stories about what Eric Ten Hag had for dinner before we heard the news about who was appointed head of women's football. So it's always going to feel like the focus is on the men's side because that's what drives the news stories. It doesn't mean that's where the focus is. It means people will report on that regardless, even if nothing's happening. So I don't think media coverage is a good judge of where United's focus is, because you might get half a story about a big deal for us, where you'll get 20 stories about a tiny little thing for the men's side. Um, I think around recruitment and timing, it's 4 weeks since that game against Chelsea, but it's still 3 months till the season starts. It 3 months is usually the maximum you wait between seasons when you're used to men's football, but there's 3 months before the season starts. It's a long time. And yes, I'd love to get all our signings done and dusted before they go and play in the Euros if we are going for those players. But it doesn't necessarily matter what United want. If a player says, I want to focus on the Euros and then I'll make my decision, do you go ahead and buy your second choice just in case? If that happened, we'd be in tears. If we signed players that we thought were second rate because the players going to the Euros didn't want to deal with it just yet, we'd get ripped apart. So sometimes it does need a bit of patience. It depends on the players you're trying to get. It depends on what them and their agents want to do. If your first choice says, I'll talk to you in 2 months, if that's the player you want and you're confident of getting him, you've got to wait. Because if we start taking second choices now, this early, I mean, when the rumour was mentioned about Rachel Williams, the vitriol on Twitter, she's a dinosaur, we don't want her. The club will use the fan base as an attraction when they're talking to players. But if I was thinking of coming to United and saw the responses to that, I'd think, I don't know if I want to play for these lot. And that was just a rumour. And it was a rumour of which, if it was last day of the transfer window and we bought Rachel Williams as our only striker, then you'd think something's going wrong. But with 3 months of the window left, if that was announced and confirmed, we've all complained about naivety this season just gone. The amount of points we've given away from leading positions could have got us in the top 4, the top 3, could have even had us challenging for the title. And they were points that we lost from games we really should have been winning. And that is naivety. So we've not got many players over 30. So if you bring a player in that, by all accounts of people who've watched the play, is a decent forward, not a goal scorer necessarily, but a calming influence, bring it on. Get her in the squad. As I say, if in 3 months' time that's your only signing, then I'll grab a pitchfork and join in. But with 3 months to go, I don't believe for a second that our plan is Rachel Williams is our number 9. It's not going to happen. But an experienced forward as a squad player, definitely. And especially if it's somebody that Mark Skinner knows. So I think whether you want the player or not, the specific player, the approach of getting a bit of experience in, absolutely. Teddy Sheringham was 31 when he came to United and went a season winning nothing and then won a treble. And he'd won nothing before that, apart from a couple of individual trophies. So I think deciding that this player's 34, so this is a terrible direction for the club, we've got no plan, it's a shambles, we're a finished club, ridiculous. If it's last day of the transfer window, yes, you're absolutely right. But, we've 3 months left. And about knowing what the club's plan is, if I know what the plan is, then other clubs and agents know what the plan is. And there's already a United tax on transfer fees. So if everybody in the world knew what United's budget was, then the prices would go accordingly. So I don't want to know what the plan is, because if I know, the agents know, the clubs know, and we get stung. So if they did let information like that out, we'd be calling them naive. We'd be calling them a joke of a club. We are doing now, but people would do it then. So we want to know the plan, but if we knew the plan and got stung for it, we'd call the club naive again. So it's, yes, we are the fans and we deserve information, but we don't want all the secrets, because if we get it, everybody else gets it. So I think there is a big need for patience. And I could see some comments popping up about not scoring, Rachel Williams not scoring enough goals and other players with experience, younger and better. But we don't know what's available. Nat said she'd rather bring Jess Sigsworth back, but Jess Sigsworth scored fewer goals. Jess Sigsworth scored, 2, 3, and just avoided relegation. So if we want to look at stats, we can pick holes in anybody. And it's not necessarily about the individual player. It's about recognising that it is a decent approach. It is smart. It is only a rumour. And also, if you don't want to, that's fine. But the language in some tweets bordered on abuse. And I know abuse is a buzzword for certain other fan bases. And I'm not saying it's everybody, because everybody who said something negative jumps up and says, well, I wasn't that bad. It's not everybody. There are some decent opinions, and I say negative things, but there are ways of saying it, because if she does sign, we'll all be wanting our picture with her next season, and I'll be wanting an autograph from her. A bit of patience is needed, a bit of calmness, a few deep breaths, and 3 months to go. And I can see other comments coming in asking, does Rachel Williams get us top 3? She's not for us. Well, Sina Brunn didn't get us top 3, and we were buzzing when she arrived. And she played probably, 100, 200 minutes? It's not always what it seems. You get what you think is going to be a world beater, and if she can't stand up, then, doesn't matter how good she is if she can't get on the pitch. And that's not through not getting a chance. That's through not being fit enough. And that's a 23-year-old, is she? So there's a lot more nuance. Comment again. Sina Brunn, younger and better, just unlucky with injuries. You could sign Pele, but if his leg's broken, he's no good to you. So, somebody who's going to play 20-odd games a season, which Rachel Williams did. Was it 19, 20 games she played last season for a team that was challenging us for league position for a lot of the season? I'm okay with that as a squad player. In fact, I'm delighted with that as a squad player. As long as there is bigger to come in the 3 months that we've got.
Andy, but I do agree with some of your points. I think Nat said that in November, and I do also remember that Manchester Evening News came out with the news that United will be looking to appoint their first head of women's football. Yes, it was under Ed Woodward, but even the deputy director of football thing was towards the end of Ed Woodward's tenure. It was announced that they would be looking at someone to uh, uh, a deputy to John Murto in the men's structure, and that is announced. How long did that take? 2 or 3 months. I know, Richard. Like it was towards the end of Ed Woodward's reign at United, the end of an era, but still 3 months for appointment of a deputy director of football, and then it's like November, December, January. Like it's been around 8 months now. I know I'm being a little impatient. I know you asked for the
No,
United
no,
fans
don't.
to be patient, but still, I think uh, there has to be, like, the transfer window is arriving. You do know that Mark Skinner is the only, like, there might be other people that we might not know about, but still, I think this type of appointment needs to be made as soon as possible.
I think in some ways, yeah. And with that, yes, you have every right to be impatient for the length of time that's taken, and that I hope that is because of Ed Woodward, and I hope the early signs from Arnold's starting the job are a sign of things to come. We want things to happen as quickly as possible, but we also want the right person to come. If you do all the interviews and you think, no, none of these are right for us, then as frustrating as it is for it not to happen yet, I'd rather us wait and get the right person. Because if you throw at just anybody and you think we need to recruit somebody now who's the best of these 5 candidates, give them the job, and it's a shambles, then you're just asking for more of this kind of reaction. I don't know. The right person might have come along and we might not have been a good enough proposition for him. That's a possibility. But, that is a cause where impatience is validated. 8 months is a long time. And I will give Arnold the benefit of the doubt for now and say it's down to Woodward, because Woodward's good at signing noodle partners and mattress partners. But as far as signing football-related employees, then, he came home from a pre-season tour in Australia about 8 years ago to sign somebody and wasn't seen for 3 months. So now that Woodward's gone, maybe we will see a bit of positivity. There's a big shake-up going on throughout the whole club. There's a lot of movement behind the scenes. So we've got to hold them to account, absolutely, but hope that the right structure is being put in place. Because we are 4 years old. We are brand new to the structure at the minute. Chelsea have been signing top class players for 10 years. They know how to do it. They've got the draw. They've got the Champions League football every season. They've got 3 leagues in a row. They're going to attract players straight away. We've got the name of Man United, but we've only got a 4-year-old structure under a dreadful CEO. So hopefully, with somebody who acknowledges his lack of football knowledge and is putting people in place who've got the football knowledge, the fact that he acknowledges that he needs football people in place to make those decisions is a huge plus compared to what we've had for the last 4 years. And that's what, even though you could say 4 years is plenty of time to get a structure in place, Arnold's had a few months. So hopefully he's putting the right things in place to take us forward long term. And I'm not saying wait 3 years and then decide, hold them to account, ask the right questions, but also acknowledge that it is new. It's a new setup. Things are happening. Hopefully it's the right things.
Yeah. Namrata, would you jump in and talk about whatever Andy has said and then continue with the Euros topic that you had mentioned?
Yeah, I think a lot to unpack. But I kind of agree with one point that Andy had raised, is that uh, we as women's football fans, the fans of the women's team, we obviously are very impatient about the signing of head of football, because for us it's a huge priority. But I kind of agree that this summer, and in fact the last 3-4 months, have been uh, probably the most important few months for United as a club, because if the men's team does not do well, we don't have the flexibility or the revenues to really make a really strong women's team. And uh, the person who was basically responsible for really the women's team is John Murter, who right now is the one who's most closely involved in setting up this new structure. So I think somewhere, obviously women's team is taking the back seat. I don't like that, but I can kind of understand why maybe this particular transfer window they feel that is more important for the men's team than the women's team. I, as far as head of football is concerned, I kind of agree that it doesn't matter if they have taken 8 months to appoint somebody and they get somebody who's the right person. Uh, my only concern really is that there was an article or there was a tweet from somebody who said that uh, there's a huge possibility that the head of football will actually not be related, will not be from the football ecosystem. So they
Yeah,
might be from some other sport.
James Tucker had put it out in his
Yeah,
article a few weeks back.
yeah. So for me, even if we get that person in 3 months down the line, or if we get that person in right now, it'll take time for that person to really figure things out at United, figure get contacts into the world of women's football. And unless we've already appointed them and we have already started, or they have already started working on behind the scenes stuff, we're probably going to lose this transfer window when they can come in and have an effect. So, we lose this crucial moment in time where we could actually do with the expertise of somebody like that. So, but again, this is a long-term project. So I'm really frustrated by that, but I also somehow understand what the club has it in mind. I don't like it, but it's just, it's just how it is. Uh, on the topic of Rachel Williams, right? I I'm not, I understand that the Twitter reaction might have been a really dramatic one, and a lot of people kind of went out and you know really criticized that quite a bit. But I don't really agree with the fact that we are signing her for experience, and that's a good thing, because for me just signing somebody with experience is not enough. You have to sign players with the right experience, because if I ask right now, uh, what is the thing in Rachel Williams that you won't find in any other experienced player around the world? What is the advantage there? Last season we signed Press and Heath because they they were experienced players, because they had played in really tough conditions throughout the world. They played in World Cups. They had this winning mentality. So we knew that okay, they will come in and they will, our team, our squad, which is a very young squad, uh, you know, they will have a lot to learn from them. And we saw examples of that on the pitch as well, with Tobin really leading the line uh, uh, on the pitch. When it comes to Rachel Williams, right? I probably do not know as much about her because she's been in WSL for a really long time. But from the past experience, I just feel the kind of experience that she will bring in is for having played in the WSL for a lot of years. But is it the kind of experience that we really need right now? Like, is that a priority right now? What is it that maybe Rachel Williams right now as a midfielder has, which, let's say, another outgoing player like Jordan Nobbs does not have? I understand that she's not as injury prone, so she'll be there. But for me, the trade-off between the fact that she's at the end of towards the end of her career, uh, and she brings in WSL experience. For me, the trade-off is too big, because you can probably get another player, who's probably uh, won more stuff in other leagues or has had experience playing in Champions League and so on. And you can probably get a young player to play in that position. Uh, so I'm not really convinced that just because somebody has the experience, it's always a good experience. Because in the men's team, we got Lee Grant as the I think Lee Grant, right? Granty. So Granty had like a lot of experience, and we got him, and he didn't really play that much. And I think we just always had this. So for me, for Rachel Williams, what I think, what's my theory is that she eventually wants to move into coaching. So when she comes in, she'll probably be a player coach kind of. It's again something I have no information about this, but this is something that I'm considering. And a player who has such a huge experience in coaching, very similar to Jill Scott, when she went to Everton, she was a player coach kind of situation there. And if you're a player who wants to get started in coaching, there's not a better place than Manchester United Academy right now. And Charlotte Healy has been doing things all by herself. And if that is something why we are signing her, then the experience and everything completely makes sense, and I will completely welcome her with open arms. I will welcome her with open arms, even if she's not coming because of that. I'm having this meltdown right now on Twitter, but once she signs for us, she's like the best, uh, you know, plus 30 midfielder in WSL for me since then. And that's just what, like, for me, that's just, what it's about. And I understand that people get really panicked and there's a huge overreaction that happens on Twitter. But the fact is, that is what Twitter is for. People, I mean, if you don't have a meltdown every single day, people would not be on Twitter. It's very different from being at the match and watching. Or I've had, I've watched United men's team for years, and I did not have another United fan around me to share that with. And Twitter is completely different from that. But that's just what it is about. And I understand that when new players come in and they see those tweets, it's not something that'll feel nice. But the thing is, if it wasn't the women's team and if it was somebody from the men's team, would we get the same reaction? We don't do that. And the reason is because if I say right now, if you would know that none of the players would come across your tweets, people will probably be even harsher, be even more critical. So that's what people do. That for men's team, there's a lot of self-policing that happens in women's football a lot, which is a good thing actually, because there's a lot more connection between the fans and women's team players. And I don't want them to come across tweets and feel really let down and so on. But I think to some extent, players, fans will always, self-policing and everything is great. But at some moment, the dam's going to burst open, and people are going to come out with their criticism and their opinions. And most of the time, players will not like that. And it's something which is the uglier side of football. And it's probably going to get even worse as women football goes on. And I'm not really getting into that. But all I'm saying is that when it comes to social media, reactions like that is the norm. And if you actually spoke to people in DMs, and one-to-one, you'll actually see a lot more reason, objective kind of conversations. So I get Andy's point, but I don't really agree with the experience part for Rachel Williams.
Uh, Slightly linked to what you just said about Twitter, and in response to Natalie's comment that she just put about at wrong club if you don't want fans to have opinion. Nobody's saying fans can't have an opinion. I've said negative things, but saying finished club, joke club, dinosaur, stay away from my club, that's not an opinion. An opinion is, I think she's a bit too old for what we need to do. Fine. We want younger players. We want long-term investment. Fine. She's a dinosaur, stay away from my club isn't an opinion. So nobody's saying nobody can have opinions. There might be one, and again, there might be one or two that say you're not allowed to say that. They're wrong as well, because you can say it. You can say whatever you want, but if you're going to say finish club because we're rumoured to sign an experienced player at the beginning of the transfer window, then people can say, just hang on a minute, that's a bit out of order. So it's not about you're not allowed to have an opinion. It's about have an opinion, just don't be a dick, basically. And yeah, it does happen in the men's game. And some of the stuff that goes on in Twitter in the men's game is horrific. But in the men's game, if it's 100 tweets out of 1,000,000, you only find it if you look for it. In the women's game, it could be 10 tweets out of 100, and it's a lot more visible. So it does stand out more. But the same rule applies. The fact that it happens in the men's game is something that I think we talk about. What do we want the women's game to grow into? And a lot of people say, rightly, that we don't want to follow the path of the men's game. We want to take the good bits, but we want the women's game to grow into what it is in itself. And I wish that wasn't part of the men's game, but it always will be, because there's a anonymity on Twitter that if you choose to have it, and especially in such big crowds where you've got a lot of people commenting, such as in the men's game. But that's the bit we don't want. We can be emotional. We can have opinions. We want to have opinions. I run a fanzine. If people didn't have an opinion, that fanzine would be empty. Opinions are vital, but make it constructive. That's all the majority of people are saying. I've seen again, Vicky, I like the transfer rumours though. So do I. I like the rumours as long as it's not claimed that it's a done deal, which that's happened recently. We've had tweets saying it is done, and then followed up the day after by, oh, this doesn't look like it's going to happen. That's not a rumour. That's a claim that something's done. Say it's expected, fine, but don't tell us it's done if it's not done. We want the rumours. We want to get excited, but that can happen without being abusive and reacting instantly with finish club, dinosaur, stay away, we don't want you. That bit is too far. You don't need to say that to have an opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with it, but that's probably some other topic. But I just feel that as the popularity of the team grows and you get more people who are accustomed to this fan culture from the men's side, you are going to get similar stuff in women's football. It's very unfortunate. It's not something that we probably want in women's football, but that's just as a reality. Like basically what you said, Andy, that we don't like it, but the men's football team will take priority, so women's team will be taking a backseat. It's the same kind of situation. We don't like that, but it is something which is becoming a reality. And from our end, maybe we probably can moderate what we say on social media, but you can't really police an entire fan base. We have like millions of fans of United on Twitter, so that's just something. But I want to move to another topic that I was in case I just forget. So about the transfer rumors, and why you said, so basically what you said is that there are 3 months left to go for before the new season starts, and all that is I understand that. And when I think objectively, that's what I think as well, because you have most of the contracts will be ending on 30th June. So you cannot, so even if we don't announce before that, it's fine. Transfer window itself will open on 17th June. So if we don't announce anything before that, it's fine. And maybe we'll see a lot more activity once we draw closer to those dates. My issue actually is that 20th June is when uh, most of the players will be reporting for Euros duty, and then you'll have Euros, and after Euros and before the preseason is a very short window. And when you look at the uh, when you look at men's football, after every major tournament like Euros or World Cup, it's a very, very inflated market. You'll have, uh, you'll either have the kind of players that you're already looking for have a really good tournament, and they'll have a lot of competition for their signatures. A lot more clubs will come in. They'll be able to the transfer fee will skyrocket. They'll be asking for a lot more wages. It's also possible that you know there might be some players that we're not after who do well in the Euros, and we just suddenly change track and we try to go and sign those players. And we've seen that in men's football a lot of times. And my worry here is, I don't know if that is going to happen or not, but my worry really is that if we're leaving everything for after the Euros, our budget for Manchester United women, uh, we don't have enough budget to really compete with other clubs in such a inflated market. And I understand why we're also not able to sign a lot of players right now, because if you're an agent right now who know that your player is going to the Euros and there's a very good chance that they might do well, the transfer fee is going to rise. You can get a better deal for them after the Euros. So maybe it's not just the club's fault, but it's also the kind of market where it is. Like if I was an agent and I have a top club, I would definitely not sign before the Euros. So I think that the club also has to, uh, you know, tackle that situation. And I just wanted to like ask from you guys, what do you think about that? Because for me, that is a huge worry, because I've seen it from the men's side year after year, us falling prey to that. And I really hope that the fact that we don't have a lot of rumors coming in right now is because we're signing players and there's not a lot of I mean, the reason why maybe we're not hearing a lot of rumors is that finally this club has figured out a way to keep things secret, which is very, very hard to imagine. But I hope that is a situation and not because we're waiting for after the Euros to get all the business done.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. If we are actively waiting till after the Euros, then that's a massive error.
Yeah.
There's no way of us knowing either way, whether that's a choice or whether that's just the way things are going. There might be some deals that are signed, but like you say, if we can keep it secret, then we have changed, and
But
that
we
that
are
would that would be great
we
if that's what Arnold's doing.
but we are the club where, from the men's side, all our single lineups are leaked hours before the official time. So I just find it a little bit difficult to digest that
Yeah,
might be happening.
it is very difficult to believe. But yeah, if we are choosing to wait, then I think that's naive. I hope that's not the case. And it's the same as if Rachel Williams does come and she's our only striker signing. That's an error. It's all longer term. If she's your squad player and you bring in a 26-year-old number 9 who scored 20 goals a season for the last 5 years, then you think, yeah, happy with that. Don't mind having her in reserve. It's the same with this. If we are working on deals, if there are deals happening where there are pre-agreements and then they will confirm after the Euros, that can be dangerous, because if they have a good Euros and a couple of bigger clubs come along and Barcelona spot them or Chelsea and say, do you want to come to us instead? You've got that as a risk as well. So yeah, completely agree. If we're choosing to wait, then it's a shocking error. But you don't know what the agents want, you don't know what the players want. I would hope a player would say, get it done and dusted, and then I can focus on the Euros. Because if I was a player and I had clubs after me, I'd be going to the Euros. I don't want to be thinking about which club I'm going to sign for. I want to concentrate on the Euros. But players are different, agents are different, and that is something that if we can be proactive enough to speak to these people first and say, we want you, regardless of your performance at the Euros, we want you. This is what we're going to pay you, and get it done. Then that's what we want to see. And hopefully, like I said before, that the structure is new. I know it was new 4 years ago, and it's not as new now, but it was new under Ed Woodward. We couldn't sign players for the men's team under Ed Woodward unless they were in the retirement age for our first team. So how we expect to sign players for the women's team under Ed Woodward is a completely new question. But if we are getting a new structure in place now, it is new, but the signs look positive. We want it to happen now, not in another 8 months.
Yeah, so my opinion is somewhat related to what Vicky has just said. That one thing is that we haven't launched our official kit as of now, so that is something which might be the reason that we haven't announced anything. The basically haven't announced any incomings. Secondly, I think even if it's a free agent, that's what my thinking is. The contract from or wherever they are placed right now, it's still 30th June. So I think once they like they move past that date of 30th June, maybe then any announcements can take place. Uh, but yes, I do agree with what Namrata said that after the Euros, the performances would be fantastic, or they would be so poor that United might change their mind and will take another 1 month or so to decide on a particular name. So that will just delay all the process, all the pre-season things that need to be taken place, and that is something that we saw when Mark last summer. Mark was appointed a little late into the window, and he did not. That's what my thinking is. It's not something that has been said in the media or anything, but he might not have gotten the signings that he wanted in the summer. We saw that we got in three players, that too on the deadline day. So that should tell you that a structure is needed. So that's just coincides with whatever I've been trying to say about the appointment of head of women's football. But yes, I think for the Euros part, we need to make some like even if it's one player or two players, at least uh, even if you're not announcing it before the Euros, that's fine. But make sure that you've got the signatures on the contract so that after let's just say after the Euros, for example, some big clubs like Barcelona or Lion are like, oh my God, this player is so good. Let's try to poach her away from Manchester United. But the player can say, I signed a contract at Manchester United. And that will be a very good thing for us United fans to say to Barcelona fans and Lyon fans that, hey, she chose us over you. So bite the dust. But yes, I think that's what I think. The main thing that I really liked, what Vicky has said, is the T-shirt launch, the kit launch that hasn't taken place. So that might be something that is the reason why we haven't announced anything. Uh, so, Namrata, what are your parting thoughts regarding this particular topic?
No, I think I all I'm just going to say is that I'm like usually a very calm, cool, and collected person in real life, at work, and everything. But when it comes to football, like all of that goes out of the window. And if you look at it objectively, obviously there's a lot of uh, you know there's a lot of time still left to go in this transfer window, and uh, maybe we just make some really world class signings. Maybe the Buchanan rumor that it's going to be a big surprise where she goes next. Maybe it's us. Who knows about that? So yeah, I just think that for me that uh, United usually are a club where they look a lot in terms of uh, they have like these processes and these things like they'll wait for the kit launches to really announce these big signings, and uh, you know they'll announce all the outgoings one by one. They'll give each player like a week so that players can mourn them and so on. So uh, those are just some of the things that I find annoying, but it's just a part of the fan experience. But I think right now I can allow myself to be a little bit optimistic. 2 weeks before the start of preseason, I'll be a different person. So we'll just see that.
And yeah, that's exactly why I am. But at this point, it doesn't matter who we're rumoured with now. There's a long way to go, and there's a lot to add to it. But yeah, come pre-season, if we've only signed a 34-year-old at that point, then yeah, I'll sharpen the pitchfork and lead the charge. But that the point that uh, Vic's made about the shirt launch, that is just one of those things that you have to reluctantly accept about modern football. I hate that. I hate that we announce football news based on what's best for business. It's so frustrating. It's a football club first. Get football club back on the badge. Football club first, and then we'll start dealing with the business in the background.
One thing I have to add, another thing which I find really frustrating is when the players kind of announce that they are going out or they give hints that they are going away before the club does. So Senior Brun, she's been like giving out hints left, right, and center, and we haven't really announced that. Last season, Manion kind of confirmed her signing before the club did. So I understand that we have to do all these things, but I just think it can probably be better managed. Uh, you know, I don't know how that's going to happen, but it's really horrible as a fan.
I'm sorry, I've just spotted a sporty chat box comment about drip feeding departures. That was so tedious last season, where every departure got their own full day of gushing over them.
1 week, 1 week.
Yeah, just give the news as it comes. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, so I think it's time for me to talk about something that I've been itching to talk about. That's basically that I think when we look at it, there's been no news from the clubs' side, and I'm not talking about the incomings. I'm just talking about the departures, which Andy obviously mentioned. Uh, Announce it, get it over with. Why is it that there has been radio silence from the club since the season has ended? There's been nothing, no news. Only one news came out, that too from the journalist side, that Kana Solskjaer has left for a Norwegian club. I think it's a third tier club. So that's the only outgoing that we have seen, and that too it is from the academy side. Uh, Look at men's side. Of course, I know that men's side, like Andy mentioned, their history is a bit longer than the women's side because we are only 4 years old. But if we really want to compete with the top three, and I'm not saying it with relation to what the news is coming out or what the news should be coming out, I'm just saying that why is it that we haven't made an appointment till now? Why is it that it has taken 8 months to make an appointment, which should have been done before the summer window started, right after the season ended? And this is something that I talked to Namrata the other day. It's basically that when there's no news, that means our minds are empty. So in Hindi, there's a saying that "Khali shaitan is khali shaitan, khali dimag is shaitan ka ghar." So which basically, if translated, is that an empty mind is house to bad thoughts and negativity. So I think the root cause of the negativity might be impatience, but at the same time, it's the radio silence from the club's side. Uh, we all know Mark has talked about this an extension clause in the contract of Jackie Grown and Onabati, Emily Turner, Alessia Russo. He's talked about it in press conferences that they have an option. He has used the word option a lot. So why has if you're taking the option, why hasn't it been announced? If you're not taking the option, then fine, I know they won't be announcing it. uh, but departures, I mean, contract renewals, at least we saw Carrie Jones and Ella Toon's contract renewal last season when the season was going on. Why isn't it the same case with the other players? If you are not going to extend contracts, might as well announce the departures. There are so many players who are out of contract this summer: Katie Zellem, Kirsty Smith, Millie Turner, Alessia Russo, Jackie Gronen, Ona Batier. I've counted six. There might be more. So six departures, I know it's not a lot. We've seen more than that last season, but at the same time, get it over with. Focus on the transfer window that's coming. Namrata and Andy have already obviously mentioned right now that With the euros coming in, the prices might fluctuate. The interest might come and go. So it's a very dicey summer that we're looking at. And if we somehow decide to mess it up, next season as well, we won't be in we would be fighting for the third spot, but at the end, it's been 3 seasons now. We've always finished at the fourth position. In 2019, 2020, it was the points per game thing due to COVID. Of course, we cannot blame anyone for that except COVID. In 2020, 2021, we missed out on the third spot by 1 point or 2 points. If like basically Arsenal were 1 point ahead of us. Uh, this season, we were in it until the last day. The title race was also going on until the last day. But still, there were games like West Ham 1-1, the Aston Villa draw, the draws against Spurs, the draws against Everton in mid-season, which really costed us that third spot. So another fourth position. I know it's been 4 years since this will be our fifth season, but I'm not too sold on the idea of United fighting for the third spot when I look at the new radio silence from the club and waiting for the Euros to be over to focus on transfers. Come on, I wasn't that harsh.
No, I think Andy had something to say.
Yeah, I think with the announcing whether options have been extended, complete theory. Don't claim to have any knowledge, but complete theory. I think it's possibly Onabacha that's causing the silence in that, because the only reason that, if we want to keep her, we extend the option, we use that option. But if we extend that and she wants to leave, then you try and line up a replacement and you get as much as you can from Barcelona. So if we announce that we've extended, then everybody thinks she's staying, brilliant, great. And then Barcelona throw money at it and we say, oh, she's gone. You don't want to announce the extension when it's only, you're still wondering whether you'll keep her or not. So then if you announce others and not hers, then people read into it and say, oh, she must be going then. So I think it's complicated with that, because whatever you announce without the full picture being sorted, it attracts a lot of speculation. We're not going to say that we're not going to extend, because obviously we would, if it was a case of keep her for a year or not. But if we're thinking, right, yeah, we want money if you're going to lose her, so we're obviously going to extend. But announce it now, and you're giving a bit of false hope if you're then listening to offers from Barcelona.
Actually, I have a point to support Andy in that sense that we heard rumors that if Ona goes to Barcelona or any other club, United are looking at a world record transfer fee, and maybe right now, because they're not sure if they're going to get that money or not, they're not allocating that into the rest of their transfers, and they'll probably get the usual targets that they were looking for, but now they don't know if they're getting that $1 million or not. So I mean, $1 million, 500, whatever is that's a different thing. But maybe they would have they probably more need a little bit of clarity of how much money they actually have available for transfers. And let's say if Ona does go to Barcelona, if they find the money to pay for the transfer, then you don't want to advertise that right away, because then whichever club you go to, they will double the United tax, and they're going to ask for a lot more money uh, uh, for any of their players, and we'll be it's again going to disrupt the transfer market. And we're seeing that transfer fee are kind of increasing year after year. There's a lot of money coming in WSL, and if people know, well, United have hundreds of thousands of pounds of transfer fee, we're going to be like, it's going to be really difficult for us to find a good deal. So I kind of agree that might be happening. We don't know yet. There've been a lot of news that Barcelona are not going to sign her this season. They don't have the money. But I've heard some reports from the men's side that they're signing a lot of sponsorship deals, which will bring in about 500 $500 million or something, 500 million euros to the club's coffers. And if that is true, they can obviously afford or not, and things might change later on in the transfer window.
And that reflects what I said before about we want to know things, but if we know things, agents and clubs know things. So don't tell me, because I don't want Letizier's club and agent knowing that we're desperate to replace Onabachi.
I think agents probably just assume that by default United are desperate to get any new player.
Yeah. And that's after the United tax has already been applied.
But Andy, I do agree that of course not everybody can, everything can be out, but then there are the obvious contract renewals, and this is not just I'm addressing to Andy, I'm addressing to Namrata as well. That there are players like Alessia Russo, Millie Turner, who in my opinion, will definitely sign a contract. And if they don't, I'm looking at a very hard time in my life in the next 2 3 months. But yeah, I think uh, as of now, I'm optimistic that they both will definitely stay. I think Katie Zelem as well will sign a new contract. Um Lucy Staniforth as well might sign a 1 year deal because I think she hasn't been able to perform well, mainly due to injuries. And I think this is just what I think. She'll sign a new contract, a 1 year contract. But yes, these are the kinds of deals that can be announced. Maybe they aren't being announced due to the shirt thing, due to the kit thing, whatever the reasons are. But at the end of the day, if my club isn't telling me anything, and it doesn't mean that they'll tell me tell me their plan. If they aren't telling me at least 1% of what they're doing, then I would obviously overreact. So like I'm just justifying why I'm so angry. This is just my justification. I do agree with what Andy has said that we need to be patient. It's a 3 month long window. This is just the beginning. We shouldn't be too harsh on the incomings. Yes, everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but at the end of the day, when they do sign, we'll obviously welcome them. They'll be our player, and like Namrata said, if RW does sign, I'm not saying her name because I don't want to attract unnecessary attention. But if RW does end up signing, of course, we will shamelessly say and promote that she's the best over 30 striker in the world, not even in the WSL, in the world. So yeah.
Actually,
uh,
I have one
yeah.
point to make, that, obviously, like you're calling her RW as if we haven't spent 20 minutes talking about her. So, but about Alessia. So, I don't know if the reason why we're not extending her contract is because of the club side, because they are probably not working on it as hard, or maybe from her side, it's not. But all I want to say is that Alessia Russo, she's a player who's in demand. She's a United player, so she's a United fan. So everyone knows that she wants to stay at the club. So if you're her agent, you know that you know, she probably wants to stay at the club, and the club know that as well. So if you're Alessia Russo playing in home Euros, where she might turn out to be the player of the tournament if England do well, uh, why would you not hold out till after the Euros so you can negotiate a better deal for her and make her the best paid player at the club right now? While if you do that right now, you're leaving money on the table. And again, if I was the agent, maybe I shouldn't be. But I just think Euros is going to play a huge part. Maybe I don't know if Zelen's contract is signed, if Staniford's contract is signed, but maybe they might be looking to see if they're finally included in the England squad for Euros as well. Because if they go into Euros and let's say they get to play the odd games and they do well, they will be able to bargain for a better contract as well. And uh, it's true for basically every player who is playing in the Euros. And uh, for me, I think obviously I'm very frustrated that we haven't heard any news. But I think if that is the situation, it's something maybe the club cannot do a lot about that.
Namrata, I think you might have given the agents some ideas to hold out for a better contract if that thought hadn't already crossed their minds. But I think today there were two voices of reason, Namrata and Andy, and I was the odd one out. But Andy, what? How would you sum up whatever you have said in just a few lines, or how would you say that we need to be patient? Just tell the fan base, just guide us, the immature us, to guide us and not be impatient.
I think we should all start with a deep breath in and all together out. That's about it, really. No, it's just hold the club to account. Saying be patient doesn't mean sit back and do nothing. It just means there's a lot going on. There's a lot of time left to go. There have been some recent changes that seem positive, and hopefully we'll see them come to fruit. But if they don't, hold the club to account. Just do it constructively.
Namrata, another voice of reason of today's show.
I I don't think I was. Oh, maybe I was. You seem like it's something wrong, and I should be ashamed of that. But you know, I think I'm just gonna say, like, as I said, I think when you think about it, you can see, if you look at things objectively, you'll find reasons why maybe the club is doing what they're doing. But as a fan, you you want everything to happen right now, and I understand that a lot of fans kind of, and I'm not talking about those people who just on social media sites like Twitter, etc., to get just attention, just saying you're not welcome at my club or whatever. People who uh, we know, I mean, we know the kind of things that we're talking about. But you know, I think at the end of the day, every fan, and for me, and this is one topic that I find really, really sad, is when we say, okay, who's a real fan or not? And that's my biggest pet peeve. For me, really, I just think that you're a real fan if you want United to win and do well. And you might have different uh, opinions about how we get there. And you won't always agree with everyone. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect fan, right? So all of that stuff is going to happen. And, you know, I just think if the club is not giving us any content, at least the fans are creating something. And unless we kind of, unless we just don't take it too far, if we didn't even have that, it would be like a really boring summer.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've summed it up pretty well. So, guys, if you want to portray your opinion, and if you want to show the world what your opinions are, do do contribute to Andy's fanzine called the Barmy article. Andy, just show the fanzine. I know you have it lying somewhere, or you can talk about the fanzine.
It's always around.
Yeah.
There's the latest one with Namrata's
Ooh,
artwork. Oh, there we go. It's in India as well.
yeah. I think we can show
Oh,
the Indian
yeah.
ones as well.
You
Yeah,
haven't even opened them, Atanu.
No, I have opened it, but I have kept it safely in the thing that you sent me, so that it doesn't get damaged.
yeah.
Uh,
The my Twitter's in the corner of my screen. Get in touch if you want to contribute. I don't have to agree with it for it to be printed. But if you've got something to say and you can say it constructively, it'll go in. Simple as that. It's for anybody and everybody to say what they want to say, whether it's an opinion, whether it's artwork, whether it's an anecdote, anything you like. And yeah, one final thought on patience. I'm 38 years old. I've waited over half my life for United to sign Wesley Schneider. I, I know all about patience when waiting for football transfers.
I like that. I like that. Namrata, how can people on Twitter or other social media sites contact you if they want to, and get some more optimism from you?
Again, it's okay. Anyway, so my Twitter handle is Namrata_YDV. And I also I've written for Bami article once, and I usually draw some stuff about about the players and so on. So again, if you want to contribute, and like Andy's really welcoming for all the ideas, and no idea is very stupid or anything. We just have a lot of fun planning on that, right? I think it just started with something and then just went on to something completely different and great. So anyone who wants to contribute, I just say that please just go ahead and contact Andy. And it's a great magazine.
So first and foremost, I didn't mean the optimism as an offense. I'm just saying that I'm very happy that people are being a bit more optimistic, and I'm on the wrong side of the debate. But yes, guys, do follow them on the Twitter. Contact Andy if you want to contribute to the fanzine, and you should. It's a fantastic fanzine. I've had the chance of reading some fantastic pieces inside it.
You're just looking through the pages right now. I know that.
Please, I've read it. uh, yeah.
Yes.
So
So we've
yeah,
just
Andy,
had
go on.
somebody just asked when's the next fanzine issue released, and Vicky has said that it's out very soon. She's doing the layouts, so Vicky does all the, I organise people and get people to contribute stuff. It's usually just a message rather than doing much writing myself. But then once it's all come together, Vicky does the painstaking work of putting every inch of page together, and getting it all in the right layout for the printers. So it should be in the next few weeks, but if you want to keep up to date without relying on chancing across a tweet, I have a Substack newsletter. So as soon as something's out, I'll send it straight to your inbox to say it's available. This is the link. Come and get it. And I've also been sharing some archive articles on that as well. So if you want to sign up to that, I'll keep you up to date and show you some of the old stuff as well.
Yeah, guys, do check the Substack out. I've put the link in the description. But if you cannot find it on a later date, contact Andy, and I think it'll be in his Twitter bio. Uh, do follow us on Twitter at the rate Only One United Club. We are on Instagram as well. Go on our Twitter bio, and you'll get all the links. Subscribe to the channel. It's been a fantastic show. We've talked about something that's been happening at United right now, and it was a wonderful debate. Lively minds, great minds fighting it out to see who prevails. And I think I've lost, but at the end of the day, the fans have won.
Nobody's lost. Nobody's lost.
Oh,
Yeah, consolation prize that nobody's lost. Yeah, but thanks a lot, Andy. Thanks a lot, Namrata, for tuning in. It was a fantastic show. Uh, Vicky's saying she feels calm now.
That might be
Yes,
the gin. That might be the gin she mentioned earlier.
yeah. So thanks a lot, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. We have some fantastic shows lined up. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter to keep yourself updated with all the shows that are coming. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.